Vince McMahon's biggest flaw, because he's talked about this, what's best for business. It's a goddamn angle now. It's a gimmick. Do what's best for business. Vince McMahon started this whole thing because the one good thing that I will say about billionaires is that they don't have to do shit that they don't want to do. Right? If you're a billionaire, why would you have to do shit that you don't want to do? Why would you have to associate with anybody you don't want to associate with? Why would you have to go anywhere you don't want to go? Because you're a fucking billionaire. But Vince McMahon has started this what's best for business thing. Well, I've already mentioned in Kenny King's example, it's not even best for business because you could find Amelia Earhart easier than you could find a fucking wrestling ticket to Kenny King is sold. But Vince McMahon has started this do what's best for business. I first started losing respect for Vince McMahon when I still worked in Stamford. When he sat me down at the table one time, Bruce Pritchard was there. I was there, and it was in fucking Vince's living room where we used to write TV. And I can't even remember what prompted this now. But I was ranting about somebody, fucking some asshole that had fucked us around some kind of way. And Vince said, Jim, in business, you've got to learn to eat shit and like the taste of it. So what? You got to learn to eat shit and like the taste of it in business. You're going to eat a lot of shit, like the taste of it. Well, when you go home, you know, that's your castle. You whatever the fuck. You're the king of your castle. And I just looked at him and I'm like, what the fuck? Because here's the thing. That didn't, to me, sound like fatherly advice. Now, I didn't get a lot of fatherly advice from my dad. He died when I was just after I turned 7. So I didn't get that, you know, opportunity. But I can see from things I've heard about him, things I've read about him, things that I've heard from people who knew him, I can see my dad saying things to me like always stand up for what you believe in and always tell the truth and always treat people fairly. And I mean, there's letters and things that have been written in newspaper articles and et cetera about him because he was a fairly prominent guy around Louisville, that he would say things like that. And you know, if you think you're right, go for it, whatever the fuck, you know, good shit like that, right? I can never envision my dad saying, learn to eat shit and like the taste of it. I can't imagine that. Wouldn't have happened. And he lived his life that way. It bore that out, things I've been able to determine about him. But Vince McMahon, a billionaire who don't have to put up with shit, has always been the guy. People sue him. People walk out on him. People fuck him. People say horrible things about him. And he brings them back. Not because it's best for business, because it's best for his fucking ego. Because if you think about it, Vince McMahon has the worst inferiority complex of anybody ever in history. And the reason I say that is because he wants to prove that he will fucking do anything with anybody. He will reconcile with anybody, supposedly if it's best for business, but just so he can get them under his thumb again and he can work with them again. And he can prove that they needed him. He grew up in a fucking trailer in North Carolina. That's why he hates Southern people. He never knew his father until he was almost in his teens. He had a horrible childhood where he was abused. He's 70 years old. He's a billionaire. He's still on that human growth hormone. He's still fucking bodybuilding. He has no hobbies. All he does is work. All he does is want to make more money. He got a massive inferiority complex, and he wants to prove to everybody that, and that's why he's always hated wrestling, because he wants to be the Walt Disney of wrestling. That was a quote from him one time back in the 80s, because he wants to fucking prove that he can make major motion pictures and he can run a fucking football fucking league and he can do all this other shit instead of just wrestling. Because he's got a major inferiority complex and he's never gotten over it. And I've always said a team of psychiatrists could fucking retire on just trying to figure out Vince McMahon. But that ultimately, to me, is what has caused all this, as Arn Anderson would say, is Vince McMahon has the biggest inferiority complex that's ever been. And he's got to prove that he can get anybody back under his thumb anytime he wants and that he can succeed at anything. And that's what's led to the ruination of the wrestling business. And that's what's led to people thinking that, what best for business? Do you want to deal, if you're a businessman, especially when they're not even going to be of really that much help to you, but even if they are, if you're a billionaire, do you want to deal with people that have lied to you, that have sued you, that have fucked you around, that have done any of these things? Do you want them in your life? Do you want to fucking put your business in their fucking hands, or not even put your business in their hands, but just, do you want to take a risk of them doing it again just to fucking fulfill some goddamn inferiority complex that you've got? Or do you just want to say, you know, I'm going to go with the people that are loyal and dependable and will fucking work for a common goal instead of the people that are only out for themselves and have proved that? That's why I say that Vince McMahon has an inferiority complex. That's why I say that that's the whole thing that's behind what's best for business. And that's why I say that bringing Kenny King back to Ring of Honor or anywhere else in wrestling is not best for business, especially since he couldn't draw fucking flies if you dipped him in shit. And once again, hey, and Vince has my phone number too. Vince, if you disagree with that, give me a fucking call.